More fallout from the cuts by Elon Musk and his Doge team. President Trump got more than 70% of the vote in Wood County, West Virginia last November. But some people who find their federal jobs in limbo now say they regret supporting him. Randy Kay has more.
This flag used to hang there.
This was the flag Jennifer Piggott proudly hung outside her home during campaign 2024.
We had the flag. I had the shirt. I was a MAGA junkie.
A MAGA junkie who thought her government job would be safe with Donald Trump in office. She was wrong.
I cried. It's scary, you know, it's a really scary thing, and I was embarrassed. He's a good boy.
Piggott was abruptly fired last month from the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service, based here in Parkersburg, West Virginia. The reason given for the firings of 125 probationary employees at the Bureau? Poor performance.
I had my last review on the 31st of January, and I had the highest rating that you can get on a review, less than 21 days before I was terminated for my performance.
You voted for Donald Trump.
I did.
Do you regret that vote?
Yes, I do. To cut the knees out of the working class Americans just doesn't make sense to me. I expected more from President Donald Trump.
Since speaking out, Piggott says she's received death threats and her home has been egged. This woman asked us not to show her face for fear of retribution. She recently retired from the Bureau of Fiscal Service because she was afraid of losing her health insurance if she was fired. She also voted for Trump.
Would you still have supported him?
I'm not sure that I would have. The way that it's been done, I'm for balancing the budget, that type of thing, but not in this context. It's just not right.
Earlier this month, a federal judge ordered half a dozen federal agencies to immediately offer thousands of probationary employees their jobs back. But this week, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to put that judge's ruling on hold and stop those employees from returning to work.
In Michigan, once a stronghold of support for Donald Trump, many former voters are now voicing deep regret and frustration. The trust they once placed in him has been shaken, and a wave of disappointment has swept across the state. According to a recent focus group organized by Axios and Engage Sago, numerous 2024 Trump supporters in Michigan are now feeling betrayed.
It is day 53. That's not what it feels like, though, in this whirlwind of President Trump's second term. And now some of his swing state supporters are expressing some buyer's remorse. They're sounding off in a focus group co-conducted by Axios. It's a group that consisted of 13 voters from battleground Michigan who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but then for Donald Trump last year.
Axios reported that most expressed frustration and worry using words like erratic, frightening, disruptive, and dictator to describe their concerns.
It's getting to the point where I'm almost scared to watch the news.
A lot of his actions have just been disruptive and creating chaos.
I don't think anyone would have voted for him if they expected to see what we're seeing now.
I was voting for him based off of the economy the first time around, and I'm seeing a significant decline.
It's very scary.
What changed? They say, we feel misled. This isn't the America we voted for. These are not just emotional reactions. These voters are living with the real-world consequences. Initial hopes for economic improvement and reduced costs of living have been replaced with disillusionment. Instead of relief, they've experienced job losses, inflation, and increasing instability within the administration. One source of outrage is Elon Musk's prominent role in the administration. Voters are baffled. One participant said, "He wasn't elected. I don't even understand what his job is. It's like a made-up department. And he's just destroying everything with Trump's approval." The sentiment is clear. Musk's influence feels undemocratic and damaging. Many Michigan voters expected Trump to lower living expenses, but now cite tariffs and trade wars as the reasons prices are soaring. As one put it, "I thought he'd make life more affordable." But now, because of all these tariffs, everything is more expensive than ever. One of the most painful grievances centers on employment. Massive job cuts have blindsided families, and social services like healthcare and welfare are vanishing. As one voter expressed, "At least be honest with us. Tell us you're going to cut hundreds of thousands of jobs and that our bills are going up." Even those with jobs feel vulnerable. Others who depend on state assistance say they've been left behind. Michigan residents say their representatives, particularly those allied with Trump, like Representative Tom Barrett, are now avoiding public engagement. Town halls are empty, while these lawmakers are spotted at sports events instead. Fed-up citizens are taking matters into their own hands, holding community forums without their leaders.
We begin in the United States, where tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets against the Trump administration on Wednesday. The demonstrations came as people decried the White House's early actions, including immigration crackdowns, rollbacks on gender rights, and tariffs on allied nations. The protests were the result of a movement that was organized under the hashtags Build the Resistance and 50501, which stands for 50 Protests, 50 States, One Day. The largest protest took place in California, Oregon, Washington State, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, New York, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C. The demonstrations were even seen in traditional red states like Texas, Alabama, Alaska, Missouri, and Ohio.
I feel like the movement is growing. I mean, we've only had to deal with him for the last 16 days. So I think people are waking up to what we're faced with and are going to be coming into the streets.
In 2016, we didn't know what he was really going to do in office, but now we know. And I don't know. I can't understand how he got elected. I can't understand how people are okay with this, and I hope that people will start to push back before it's too late.
Throughout cities including Atlanta, Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, protesters chanted slogans like "Death to Fascism," "Save Democracy," "No Human is Illegal," and "Impeach Trump."
This is what democracy looks like. Who's going to stop us? This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
The protesters also rallied against President Trump's closest ally, Elon Musk, with many holding signs calling for the deportation of the billionaire.
We are witnessing in real time the most corrupt bargain in American history. Elon Musk paid over $250 million to help elect Donald Trump. And now Donald Trump is turning over the keys to the Treasury and the rest of the federal government to Elon Musk. We need to end this illegal power grab, and we are going to do it now. We are not going back.
Also, rally saw the participation of several Democratic leaders who urged the Trump administration to reconsider shutting down the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. In fact, while accusing Elon Musk of calling the shots in the White House. Now, it hasn't even been a full month in office for President Trump, and he's already facing backlash, not just from political opposition, but from even ordinary Americans.
Perhaps most heartbreaking is the impact on veterans. One health worker at a VA support center shared, "No one is answering phones. Some have been fired, others are too afraid to work. This isn't how you treat the people who served." On top of domestic chaos, voters are stunned by the new trade hostilities with Canada. One voter said, "We love Canada. We work there. We have friends there. Why are we suddenly treating them like enemies?" Across the board, Americans, especially former Trump voters, are facing a reality they didn't expect. They now see Trump's policies as not just flawed, but actively harmful. Instead of economic revival, they see decline. This is no longer a partisan issue. It's a national crisis. Communities are rising up, demanding action to halt the spiral. If the administration continues to ignore their pleas, the fallout could be irreversible. Local protests, rallies, and public meetings are erupting across the country as citizens insist on immediate reform. They want to protect their jobs, their families, and their futures. The question everyone's asking, can we recover? The pain stretches far beyond one group or region. Stock markets are crashing, cryptocurrencies are collapsing, jobs are being lost by the millions, all tied to inconsistent, chaotic policies with no clear direction. And erratic economic strategies have left a gaping hole in American confidence. Businesses are hurting, supply chains are in disarray, unemployment is rising. In rural areas, once deeply pro-Trump, economic conditions are crumbling. Families who once had hope are now overwhelmed by hardship.
February's job report showed that 151,000 jobs were added last month. Now, that is fewer jobs than expected, with unemployment ticking up to 4.1%. The federal government shrank its workforce by 10,000 as Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency takes a chainsaw to the federal government. Now, the majority of DOJ's purge of federal workers won't really be felt until next month's jobs report. But there's also some fallout of Donald Trump's whiplash tariff policy. Just days after Trump issued exemptions on tariffs for a variety of goods from Mexico and Canada, 2 days after he put the sweeping tariffs in place, Trump held an unscheduled Oval Office press conference to discuss the jobs report and his tariff policies. He was asked how long Americans should expect things to cost more.
There could be some disturbance, a little bit of disturbance. I solved a little bit of that because I have respect for our auto companies.
Now, the president added that there are always adjustments and changes to his tariff policies, warning that he could implement tariffs targeting Canadian dairy and lumber as soon as today. It all comes as members of Trump's cabinet seem to be hinting at economic pain ahead for regular Americans. A day after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent defended Donald Trump's position on tariffs, saying that access to cheap goods isn't the American dream, well, today he did acknowledge signs of a slowing economy.
These aren't abstract numbers. These are real people, farmers, veterans, and working families bearing the cost of reckless decision-making. In Missouri, where Trump once held a landslide lead, a viral video shows his former supporters burning campaign flags declaring, "We were betrayed." Inflation is crushing households, wages are flat, costs are skyrocketing, people feel abandoned. I believed in Trump, but all I see now are rising debts and politicians enriching themselves. This disillusionment is spreading from Missouri to Texas, from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania. Longtime supporters are no longer silent. They are vocal, angry, and organizing. Trump's latest budget decisions have triggered outrage. Veterans are losing access to medical services. Farmers are grappling with rising costs and shrinking subsidies. People with disabilities are left without the care they need. At a town hall in Ohio, a veteran confronted his representative. "I served this country, and now you're cutting off my support." In Texas, a farmer lamented, "We believed Trump would protect us, but now only the big corporations are thriving." Musk, once seen as a visionary, is facing a steep decline in support. Tesla sales in Europe are plummeting, customer service is deteriorating, and massive layoffs have shaken consumer confidence. Even Cybertruck pre-orders are being canceled. I used to love my car. Now I can't separate it from Musk's politics. His approval rating has dropped below Trump's, signaling a serious fall from public favor. This isn't just about social media debates anymore. From state to state, protests are erupting. Republican lawmakers are being confronted in public forums. Online MAGA groups are filled with regret and anger. Headlines read, "We were fooled."
All right, now to congressional Republicans' new plan to avoid the kind of town hall confrontations that have been going viral online. NBC's Julie Sirkin is on Capitol Hill for us. Tell us more about this.
Well, Republicans have long been trying to strategize behind closed doors how to stop putting their members in the positions that will lead them to be confronted, even in rural ruby red areas, by constituents who are frustrated specifically over these DOGE cuts. We saw it over the last couple of weeks. And this morning, my colleague Melanie Zanona reported that Rich Hudson, who is essentially in charge of re-electing Republicans next year, he told Republicans behind closed doors not to do them anymore. We had some reporting in the last couple of days that perhaps they were being urged to switch to teletown halls. He just told them to not do them. He's saying, along with other Republicans that we spoke to, that these are outside agitators at these town halls, that these aren't people who actually are willing to listen to the members. Though I will tell you, I did ask Senator Roger Marshall last night about his town hall over the weekend in a rural part of Kansas, in which he was confronted by folks who were completely disgruntled by the DOGE cuts, especially when it comes to veterans and especially when it comes to the impacts they've seen in the state. Take a listen to his response to me.
People from the big city drove 5 hours so they could silence rural people who really are on tough times right now. Agriculture is really a tough business right now. So sad. Over 85% of people in that county voted for President Trump.
But there are other rural...
Let me finish, okay? I looked at the car tags, okay? I'm not done. All I have to do is look at the car tags. When there's more Mercedes-Benz there than there are pickup trucks, I know they're not from rural America.
Now, meanwhile, Speaker Johnson has invited Elon Musk to come to the Capitol tomorrow night to address these concerns and hear from members who want to hear what plan he has in terms of notifying members of Congress the kind of cuts he's eyeing before he actually does them. A similar meeting took place last week between Senate Republicans and Trump's Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles.
In Ohio, a small business owner asked a Republican lawmaker, "Why are only the ultra-rich benefiting?" Even Trump's most devoted followers now question everything they once believed. The MAGA movement is cracking, and what rises from its ashes remains uncertain.
There's rising concern that we're only seeing the beginning of a much larger wave of backlash. Can Donald Trump rebuild the trust of the voters who once supported him so fiercely, or is his base crumbling faster than ever? Why have champagne prices shot up? Trump's 200% tariffs on European goods, imposed as retaliation for EU sanctions, are hitting American wallets hard. These aren't just economic strategies, they're aggressive trade war tactics, and many wonder, is this really helping the US economy? Trump has ramped up tariffs on European steel, aluminum, and even luxury goods like champagne. Now, the threat of 200% tariffs looms large. And it's not just foreign companies feeling the pinch, American consumers are paying more across the board. When costs rise, so do prices. Let's face it. When companies pay more for materials, they pass the cost to consumers. That's economics 101. Now Trump is signaling more retaliatory actions against the EU after it responded to US tariffs. If this continues, everyday items will only get more expensive. Promises versus reality. Despite pledges to lower fuel prices and cut living expenses, Trump's trade war has sparked significant economic hurdles. Top analysts from CNBC, S&P, and Dow Jones are openly criticizing his policies. Steve Lehman of CNBC says they've destabilized markets, slowed economic growth, and driven up inflation. Experts call it reckless. While Trump defends his tariffs as a way to protect U.S. industries, leading economists argue the opposite. According to analysts like Lehman, these high tariffs hurt purchasing power, shrink small business profits, and threaten long-term competitiveness. They say the policies could actually make America less secure economically. Economic strain mounts. Trump vowed to boost the economy and reduce costs, but inflation is squeezing American families. Even with low unemployment, the rising prices of everyday goods are taking their toll. The stock market has become volatile, and GDP projections for the coming quarter are grim. Who's paying the price? Tariffs on key European imports like champagne, aluminum, and steel have driven up prices. The result? Consumers are shelling out more, while businesses, especially small ones, struggle with higher production costs and tighter margins. Brace yourself, more trouble ahead. Don't look away, what comes next may shock you. Trump has looked visibly drained in recent appearances, and behind the scenes the US economy is teetering. Experts warn that GDP could fall by nearly 3% in the next quarter. Wall Street confidence is plummeting. Meanwhile, Trump's on social media. Rather than addressing these looming issues, Trump spends hours on Truth Social, posting about Elon Musk and sparking irrelevant debates. As the economy worsens, he's distracted by online feuds. In Michigan, a key swing state, a new poll shows 70% of voters disapprove of his leadership. Cutting Social Security? While Americans struggle, Trump is reportedly exploring cuts to Social Security call centers, potentially making it harder for seniors to access their benefits. A Social Security Administration report warns that privatizing the system could increase healthcare costs while reducing effectiveness. So who wins? Wall Street. Straw wars, a presidential priority? As inflation climbs, Trump has shifted focus to paper straws. Backed by the Justice Department, he's campaigning to bring back plastic straws, calling paper ones ineffective. Critics see this as a clear distraction, diverting attention from real economic problems to trivial culture war topics. In a shocking twist, Trump ordered non-criminal, undocumented immigrants to be held at Guantanamo Bay, calling it a national security measure. But a Fox News report revealed that none of the 290 detainees had criminal records, and within weeks, most were quietly released. It was a PR disaster and a move experts say lacked both strategy and substance. Despite the mounting damage, some Trump allies still defend his economic choices, repeating lines like "no pain, no gain," and "tariffs make America strong." But the numbers tell a different story. the Federal Reserve reports the economy is headed toward a negative 3% GDP growth rate, the worst in years. Since Trump took office, the United States stock market has underperformed compared to global peers. The very policies meant to protect the economy are now damaging it. The reality, this is only the beginning. Even conservative outlets are losing faith. The Wall Street Journal called Trump's trade war the most foolish in history.
In an editorial slash master troll of Donald Trump, quote, "The trouble with trade wars is that once they begin, they can quickly escalate and get out of control. All the more so when politicians are nearing an election campaign, as Canada now is, or when Mr. Trump behaves as if his manhood is implicated because a foreign nation won't take his nasty border taxes lying down. We said from the beginning that this North American trade war is the dumbest in history, and we were being kind."
Chief Executive Magazine says CEO confidence is at a 12-year low. Among 220 executives surveyed, most express fear over the instability Trump has introduced. Some even label his trade war a complete disaster. Trump's economic team is now overwhelmed with calls from top CEOs pleading for intervention before the nation plunges into a full-blown recession. But instead of listening, Trump's attention is elsewhere, fueling culture wars, praising billionaires, and ignoring urgent economic problems. With inflation spiking, Social Security under threat, and tariffs crushing the average American, can Trump fix this mess, or is his political base finally waking up to the consequences? Stay tuned. What comes next may just change the course of American history. For more information and for more news on the happenings in the political sector and the world globally, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates.